Good night of Shabbos, everyone, and welcome as we learn the Mishna Yomis, finishing already the first parak of Chulin with one very long Mishnah, and we are sponsored by the Fisher family, Nishmas Basi Bas Rabbi Shalom ben Avram Alevi, Perel Bas Ruben. We're sponsored by Nishmas Dov ben Chaim, Lefu Shalema, for Yomis ben Chayesor, Yaakov ben Bas Yalea, for the Schus of Avram and Yom Benish ben Malki Yudis and family, by Yol Kugman and family, Lefu Shalema, for Moshe Meir ben Esther Fadel, Esther Fadel Bas Chana, Rivka Bas Shiralea, Chana Bas Shoshabina, Viduraya ben Rivka, Hinda Bas Chayesor, Yitzhak ben Tzim ben Dusha, and Meir ben Chayesor. They should have a refuah shalema b'sek shacheli Yisrael. So Mishnah Vav tells us that kosher bapara, the type of shchita by a cow, which is from the front of the neck, is possible by egla. When doing the ceremony of the egla rufa, breaking the heifer's neck for an unsolved homicide, that has to be done from the back of the neck. Kosher be'egla, and therefore what's done by the egla is possible bapara, is not allowed by the regular cow, because that has to be from the front of the neck. Kosher ba'kahanim, that which is approved by the kahanim, that means that even if the person is over 50, because there's no mandatory retirement by kahanim, and even if the kohen has a weak voice, possible balavim, because a Levi after 50 has mandatory retirement and he cannot serve as a meshorer if he has a weak voice. And therefore, kosher balavim, that which is kosher balavim, a Levi could have a blemish, possible by kahanim, is disqualified by a kohen. Now the Mishnah continues, Torah b'klei cheres, that which is Torah b'klei cheres, an earthenware vessel is not susceptible to tumah from the outside. But tamei b'kol kelim, the other kelim, like a clay mattress, is susceptible from the outside. Torah b'kol kelim, that which is Torah by all kelim, if you dangle a sheretz into the ear space of other kelim, if they don't touch the keli, it's tar. Tamei b'klei cheres, that is tamei by an earthenware vessel. When you dangle the sheretz inside the aviroi of the klei cheres, it becomes tamei. Tar b'klei eitz, that which is tar by klei eitz, pshutei klei eitz, are not mekabel tumah if it doesn't have a container, a base kibble, it's tar. But tamei b'klei matris, even a straight clay matris, even if it doesn't have a base kibble, is susceptible to tumah. Tar b'klei matris, unless it's finished, even if it's usable, but until it's nigmar malachtoi, until it's fully finished, it's not mekabel tumah. But tamei b'klei eitz, a clay eitz, as soon as it is usable, it is susceptible to tumah even if it's not finished yet. Hakaya b'shkedim hamarim, that when bitter almonds are chayiv in tumas and maisus, that's only when they're small, when they're still edible. Pater b'masukim, it's pater by sweet almonds because they're only considered sweet when they're large. Hachayiv b'masukim, that which is chayav by sweet almonds when they're large is pater b'marim, is pater by the bitter almonds, because by that time they're too bitter and they're not edible. The next Mishnah tells us temed. Temed is a beverage that's made by pouring water over grape skins or grape seeds or both. Now, at first it's just like colored water, but when it ferments, it has a din of weak wine. So actually, before it ferments, it cannot be purchased with the money of Meiser Sheni, because you can only buy for money of Meiser Sheni food or official beverage. You can't buy water. Or paisel as a mikvah until it has 40 saw is disqualified with 3 lugin of mayim shuvim, but that's only if it's water. So until it ferments, it has a din of water and will disqualify a mikvah. Mishehechmetz, once it becomes fermented, so then it's like a weak wine. It could be nikach b'kes of meiser. It could be purchased with the money of meiser sheni. Ve'ena paisel as a mikvah. Then it doesn't disqualify the mikvah until it changes the color of the mikvah. Now, there is something called the kalbain. The kalbain is a small surcharge that was added to a machzis shekel. This surcharge was added because not always did the matzah hashekel have the full amount of silver in it. But there is something that is, if you give the matzah shekel on behalf of someone else, you don't have to pay the surcharge. So, ha'achana shutafim, brothers that are partners, kishechayovim bekalban, when they're chayiv in the kalban, that means that the estate was divided and then they repartnered. So when they repartnered, each is chayiv to give a kalban from his part, because he's giving for himself. But then P'turim Ma'aseh Behema, it's part of Ma'aseh Behema, because an animal owned by partners is parted from the animal tithe. Kishechayavim Ma'aseh Behema, but if they didn't divide yet the estate, so then it's considered all the property still of the father's estate. So it's chayiv and ma'aseh behema, then p'turim min hakalban. Then it's parted from giving the surcharge, because we view it as if the father is giving it on behalf of his children. We said when you're giving it on behalf of someone else, you don't pay the surcharge. Kol makom sheyesh mecher, when you could sell the daughter, that means before she is of age, when she's a ketana, ain't knas, there's no penalty for rape or seduction, because there's no penalty by a ketana. Because makom sheyesh knas, that's a nara. Once she's a nara, she can't be sold as an amavriya, because even if she was sold, she goes free. Ein mecher. Kol makom sheyesh miyun, wherever there's a refusal. Now this is if a girl is married off, she's a yesayma, and her mother or brothers marry her off. Then when she's a ketana, she could walk away without a get, with a mere refusal. So kol makom sheyesh miyun, and that means that she's still a ketana, ain't chalitza, because chalitza could only be done by an adult. Kol makom sheyesh chalitza, once the person is adult, ain't miyun, there's no more of this kind of refusal. Now, Friday they used to blow a series of tekiyas to let people know Shabbos was coming. They did this even if Erev Shabbos was Friday, because they had to let people know that you're not allowed to cook anymore. On the other hand, if Yom Tov was Sunday, they didn't blow the tekiyas on Shabbos, because there's nothing to alert people to, there's nothing forbidden on Yom Tov that wasn't forbidden on Shabbos. So kol makom sheyesh tekiyah, wherever there is a tekiyah, even where Yom Tov falls out on Friday, ain't Havdalah. Because going from Yom Tov to Shabbos, you don't make Havdalah. On Friday night, you don't make Havdalah. The kol makom sheyesh Havdalah, if Yom Tov is on Sunday, right, so we do make Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos, because now there's a difference. Till now it's forbidden to have Eichel Nefesh, and afterwards permitted, and that's why in Shemona Esrei we say Vatoy Dienu. Then kol makom sheyesh Havdalah, then ain't tekiyah. We don't blow on Shabbos to alert people that Yom Tov is coming. And therefore, as the Mishna explains, Yom Tov shechol yois be'erev Shabbos, if Yom Tov falls out on Erev Shabbos, so there we blow the tekiyas, toikin, but v'loy mavdilim, we're not mavdil on Friday night. But Motzei Shabbos, mavdilim, we do make Havdalah, as we'll see shortly, we say mavdil ben kodesh l'kodesh, v'loy toikin, but then we don't blow a tekiyah. We don't blow tekiyah from on Shabbos to alert people that it's Yom Tov, because there's nothing on Yom Tov that is more forbidden than on Shabbos. Now, when you make Havdalah from Motzei Shabbos to Yom Tov, Keitzad Mavdilin, can't say Ben Kodesh L'Chol, because Yom Tov is in Chol. We make Havdalah HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Kodesh. We separate from Kodesh L'Kodesh. Reb Daisa Eimer Ben Kodesh Chomer, from a more severe holiness, which is Shabbos, L'Kodesh HaKal, to a lesser Kedusha of Yom Tov. We want to remind you that if you have not yet watched for the Shabbos Noach table, that's a fascinating share, and then the longer share, which is also available and will be available this year, 5786, will be available earlier. Last year was only available Thursday night. This year it will be available already late Wednesday night, the gems. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a wonderful Shabbos.